So hello everyone, welcome to EduTap. My name is Surbhi and this is Perspective 360 Degree, your one-stop solution for current affairs, descriptive writing and answer writing evaluation. If my audio is clear, then kindly let me know in the chat section, and if the alignment of video, the PPT running behind is clear to you, then kindly send me a ping in the chat section. First of all, a very happy Republic Day to all of you. May we all be aware of our rights, duties, which the Constitution has provided to us, and may we all see happier times as a whole, as a nation. All right, so before moving any further, okay, thank you, Rohit. So let's see what is the topic that we have for today. The topic is agriculture export policy, from temporary bans to permanent solutions. What other bans are we talking about? What are the temporary bans that are being talked about? And what permanent solutions are required here? So I think there is a delay with the live chat and the broadcast of this video. So I see a lot of you still joining in. So let's take like 30 seconds to actually begin the discussion. And so kindly all of you send your messages in the chat box. Okay, good evening Sejal. Happy Republic Day to you. Happy Republic Day Rohit. And others also who are live, kindly send your messages in the chat box. And if the audio is clear on your end, video is clear on your end, again, then just let me know, okay? All right. So the first news that was coming here, and that's very recent, is from Economic and Political Weekly. Let me just take the laser pointer on so that I can teach more effectively. So this is coming from 23rd of January 2024. It says, is India's agricultural export policy ambiguous? First of all, I need to make it very clear here that we do not have a recent agriculture export policy. A new agriculture export policy has not been launched by the government. It was launched back in 2018, and we are following on those lines only. So don't worry about missing out on any current affairs. It's just that the agriculture export policy is very much in news, and it has always been. Good evening Tarun, good evening Neha and Madhu. And welcome all of you. So the next one here is time to rethink India's farm exports strategy. So what is our strategy for our farm exports or agricultural exports? We need to rethink that. Business Standard recently covered, and this is one of the most important news coming here, that agriculture exports relying on 5 items make sector volatile. Global Trade Research Initiative has said this, that Indian agriculture exports are just relying on 5 commodities, and any change in the production of these 5 commodities could impact our farmers' income, our agricultural exports, our foreign exchange reserves a lot. And then I need you to focus on some of these headlines which I've taken from last year's newspapers. India bans export of non-basmati white rice. So if exports are important for agriculture, then why is India banning exports of white rice? And role of intensive and extensive margins in India's agricultural exports. What India's latest farm exports data shows. So we'll be covering all the things. We'll be covering the policy here. We'll be covering the issues associated with agriculture exports, and I'll tell you how to write an answer to this question if it is asked in any form in the examination. First of all, for RBI Grade B, if you look at your economic and social issues syllabus, then there is a separate topic of Indian agriculture mentioned. Not just this, there is this export and import policy. So this is not just the exam policy generally, it also includes agriculture export policy, and WTO, which is always contentious about India's subsidies which we provide to Indian farmers or to promote agriculture in the country. So WTO will play a great role here, so you can relate it with all these parts of the syllabus. Moving on to the next part, you have for NABARD Grade A, there is a topic called Opening Up the Indian Economy, Agriculture Performance, Issues in Food Security in India. Now, why I'm talking about food security in India, this will become clear in a while. And again, WTO. For SEBI Grade A, again you have the topic of demand and supply, and this is where your food security comes from, and we'll see that how demand and supply in the country impact agriculture exports, and especially for English writing skills for SEBI Grade A, this topic is going to hold relevance. The expected question from this area is, how does the latest agriculture export policy provide for increase in imports, provide for increase in exports? Pardon me here. Focus here should be that features of agriculture export policy, all the features have not been asked. The question is just asking you that how does it provide for increase in exports. That means what are the changes being made, what is the vision being laid for increase in exports from the country according to this latest agriculture export policy, which I told you is coming from 2018. Now, what according to you are the reasons hindering India's agriculture exports growth? So if you feel that you know some points to this answer, you know the second part or the first part, what are the problems that India is not able to export agricultural products, as then kindly let me know in the chat section if you have any additions to make. The question here is for 600 words. That means you'll have to write 15 marks for it, and I would categorize this as a difficult question because it requires first of all knowledge of the policy. Secondly, it requires very innovative points here. You should be a well-read person, having read the newspapers and editorials to be able to answer the second part of this question, and we've already done that for you. So this is the answer blueprint that you will follow to write the answer so that you can get higher marks in whatever way you are writing your answers. So all of you, welcome again. MD Bilal Khan, Munna, Tejaswini, welcome all of you, and good evening. So if I talk about this answer blueprint, it is divided into three parts, and so has to be your answer. Divide your answer into three parts. First of all is introduction. In the introduction, you have to start with focus on the topic or the theme. For example, here we are talking about agricultural exports. So start by focusing on agricultural exports here. Write about them. What is the status of agriculture exports from India, or what is the status of agriculture in India, and why are agricultural exports important, because that is not asked in the question. Okay, so we'll include that in the introduction in just one line so that the examiner understands that we fully value this topic, we understand this, and hence we are well prepared to write an answer on this. The second part would be main body. As you can see, the main body is divided into two parts: subheading 1, subheading 2. You can have a subheading 3 also if there are 3 subparts involved in the question. And finally you'll end with a conclusion which will consist of a way forward. All right. So let's break the question down. Let's see what is going to be the introduction. As I told you, explain the status of agriculture plus agriculture exports. I'll come back to the chat section again. I see a lot of messages there. Then body part 1. That would be about key features of agriculture export policy. Do you have to remember all the features? Not at all. You just have to focus on broad features, which the most important features mentioned in the policy for improvement in agriculture exports. They could be talking about infrastructure, they could be talking about funding. So even 1 to 2 readings of this policy are going to be enough for you to be able to answer this question. And the second part, body part 2, talks about reasons for low exports. This is going to be our main area of focus for today. And then in the conclusion, we'll write a summary, and we'll also give a way forward for improving agricultural exports from the country. So now yes, Muskan, that is right. Storage of the production can be a issue. Yes, storage facilities are not there. Infrastructure in your country for storage of agriculture products is not very good, and hence perishable items cannot be exported beyond a certain time limit, after a certain time limit, and hence they just perish down, they get wasted. So first of all, I have this data representing world's agricultural exports. So look at this bar graph in gray. So this represents agricultural exports of the world, and look at this small bars in black on the downside. This represents agricultural exports of India. So yes, absolutely, Saransh, it is very helpful for RBI and other exams, and it's a very important policy because it just not focuses on agriculture, it's also important for the commerce and industry part of the syllabus. So talking about, getting back to this, the grey part talks about world's agricultural exports, and the black part talks about, black bar graphs talk about India's agricultural exports. So as you can see that share of India's exports, first of all, it has been rising from time to time. If you note it from 2002 to 2022, so the share has been rising, but it is still very low. All right, so what we want is we want to increase this share so that we can get a higher value for our agriculture produce, which can improve the living standards of farmers in the country, and it can also help generate a lot of foreign exchange. And this is the bar graph. This is the graph that represents that India's share in agriculture exports, it peaked around 2012, and since then it has been going up and down, and that's how it has been. Okay, so basically this should give you a rough idea about the current position of India, and you can see that there is a lot of potential for an agrarian economy like India for increasing its agricultural exports. Now, this is the agriculture export policies first page. I've taken the screenshot here, and the latest policy came out in 2018. The first thing that you need to note here is that agriculture export policy, it is not released by Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. It was released, and it is always released by Department of Commerce, Ministry of Commerce and Industry under Government of India. So Ministry of Commerce and Industry, which regulates other exports and other goods, that also looks after your agricultural exports. That's why I told you when we were talking about syllabus that export import policy, WTO, or opening up of Indian economy, these are the topics which can all be related from this topic. And it's not just that this topic is important from NABARD point of view, but this is very important from commerce point of view, and hence all the regulatory bodies examination, they have a high tendency to ask such questions. Now coming to the introduction, and as I told you, we'll talk about agricultural exports here. First of all, India has a lot of agroclimatic diversity. You know that we produced most of kinds of fruits and vegetables and food grains in our country, and this agroclimatic diversity gives a lot of potential to India to produce at a mass scale. But there are problems associated with agriculture production. Our farm holdings, they are very small farm holders, small farmers are they are the major chunk of farm holdings in the country. So that's why production cannot increase to a certain extent. Also, see, India in the past, we have faced crisis of food grains, and because of crisis of food grains or famines occurring in India, even the present governments, even the governments of those times have been toppled. So the last thing that your government wants to do is give you or throw at you scarcity of food grains. Scarcity of food grains is the last thing any government wants to do in India, because that is a nightmare for a country like India. Our forefathers suffered from it, a lack of availability of food grains, then requesting other countries to send food grains to us. So we are always in the state of fear about lack of availability of food grains, and this is the reason that this food stocks or warehouses are stockpiled with food grains like wheat and rice, and they're overflowing, and wheat and rice could be even rotting down there. But we always have this tendency to save for emergency purposes. Even if you remember that during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the lockdown was supposed to be announced, then the first thing people did was they started stockpiling food grains, whether it was wheat, flour, or rice or vegetables. They just started storing or stockpiling food and food grains, because they did not trust the future, because that has been the history of India. Now the problem with this history and this mindset is that whenever there is a chance, whenever there is a scarcity of food grains in the global market, and India has the potential to export at a higher rate, that is the time when government actually feels scared and feels that any upcoming pandemic, any upcoming climate change thing could impact the availability of food grains in the country, which could impact the trust of people on the present government, and hence government puts export bans on many food grains, on many agriculture export products from time to time. So that's the biggest problem. And also the government has to maintain low prices to control inflation, low prices for food grains and other food products in the country, since CPI, consumer price index, is dependent on them. And so we are trying to balance between all these temporary bans, and permanent solutions. So this is going to be our primary area of focus. When you start this answer, start by focusing on why India has a great potential for agricultural exports because of the agroclimatic diversity. Secondly, you can also talk about how important agriculture is for India. It employs almost 55% of the people, almost 20%. Don't go for exact figures, just remember that almost 20% contribution to GDP is given by agriculture and allied sectors, and you can use them in your answers like for many for your next attempt. And so let's begin. India is one of the largest agricultural producers in the world, and its agriculture exports are an important part of its economy. I think this is a very warm statement to start with, a very general statement to start with. Do not throw technical terms in the first line itself. Just, let it steam up and then throw some data and some technical terms in the lines ahead. So India exports a wide variety of agricultural products. So it is not just restricted to exporting, for example, in case of a country in Middle East, they just export crude oil or some other minerals. But India, when it comes to agricultural products, not talking about the other things, it exports a various variety of agricultural products, including grains, fruits, vegetables, spices, tea, coffee, and cotton. And significant potential is there for agriculture exports due to diverse agroclimatic conditions, and there is large land area used with intensive agriculture cultivation and skilled farming population. So since we have so many people involved in farming, hence very good quality techniques for farming are also present with Indian farmers. All right. Then agriculture and allied sectors employ around 55% of country's workforce. Now we are moving on to giving some data in the introduction, and GDP contribution is around 20.2%, and this is the previous data that we are talking about. If you don't remember the latest data, then use this approximate term that approximately 20% is the contribution. And if I talk about foreign exchange earnings, which has come from these exports, so the latest data is from 2021, and around 56 billion of foreign exchange was generated. $56 billion of exports happened in 2021. And what do you think would be our aim of increasing agriculture exports from 56 billion to 60, 70, 80 or 100 billion dollars? What would be the aim of the country as of now? Do let me know in the chat box. So now we are ending the introduction, and we are saying that India is constantly improving its market share, and policymakers intend to use agriculture exports to speed up what happens when your agriculture exports increase. They speed up economic development in the country because there is more money available with people involved in agriculture. It generates employment, it eliminates food losses and waste, and most importantly, it increases dwindling farmers' income. So you can talk about farmers' income as priority when you talk about agriculture exports. So now we'll move on to the let's delve deeper section. Here, if I bring out the question again, the question talks about how does the latest agriculture export policy provide for increase in exports. So first of all, the year of AEP has not been mentioned. So you will have to say that all the above goals are have been envisioned to be met by the latest AEP, that is AEP of 2018, and following is the vision, or following are the features of AEP in this regard. So that's how we'll begin. And before moving on to the next part and talking about the features of AEP, kindly let me know in the chat section whatever additions you have to make, and I'll be happy to answer your queries from there onwards. I'm very happy to know this, Saransh. I would, try to keep this safe with me as a very important, a very beautiful compliment. I'm really happy to know that. Hoping for your success very soon. Muskan says fluctuating level of production due to high dependence on monsoon. Yes, Muskan, that is right, and that's why we always are scared to export more than a certain limit, and hence we don't get that amount of share in world exports as much as we can. Okay, Saransh, we'll work on that regard also. Ma'am, I've seen an article on FPOs. Is it relevant to RBI syllabus? If yes, can we have a discussion on it? Joseph, I would go through that article, and if that's important, then in the coming next two lectures, we would cover that. Okay. So no worries here. Let's move on to the next part, that is key features. Let's introduce the latest AEP that this question is talking about, and then let's provide how what is its vision and how does it provide for that. So the most recent policy, that is AEP 2018, it aims to boost agriculture exports and provide a comprehensive framework for achieving the goal of promoting and regulating agri exports. Focus on this line first, all of you. Now, when you focus on first line, you cannot just say that the latest AEP is AEP of 2018. You cannot write it directly. So you also want to create a line which mentions the year, and you also want to give its goal in just one line. So that's why this one statement holds relevance. There are other statements also which can be used to introduce AEP 2018. So the vision of the policy is to harness the export potential. We talked about India's high export potential in a field of agriculture. So the aim of AEP is to harness this potential through suitable policy instruments to make India a global power in agriculture and raise farmers' income. So it's talking about exactly the same thing which we have established in the introduction. And then finally have a linking point that the following are the key features of the policy to achieve the desired goal. And there you go from here. So now talking about key features, just giving you a glimpse, we have 13 features here. And see, we always use subheadings in our answers. In 99% of the answers, I've given you answers with subheadings, and then we have given explanations on them. Today we have multiple points. We have 13 points here, and as you can see, these are just one-liner points. And even if you look at the highlighted terms here, you will be able to judge and know what the agriculture export policy talks about, but I'm not displaying it right now. What do you think an ideal agriculture export policy should provide for? First of all, it should provide for a ambitious goal, and the ambitious goal for our country is to go from $56 billion of agriculture exports to $100 billion. That is our aim. When it was released in 2018, it aimed to double the agriculture exports by which year? By 2022, and in the long run to go to $100 billion. So that was the first aim. Once your vision and goal has been set, then you start working on it, how to achieve that goal. So first of all, the first feature is to double agriculture exports by 2022 and reach $100 billion. Also, we saw that one of the news said that only 5 commodities are being exported at scale from India. So one of the aims is to diversify the export basket and destinations, so that even if one country is not liking our products, or we cannot trade with one or two countries because of some geopolitical reasons, then there are many other destinations where our exports can go, and hence our agriculture sector, our farmers, they do not suffer in case of any exigencies. Then to promote organic farming, that is also one of the aims of agriculture AEP, to promote novel, indigenous, organic, ethnic, traditional and non-traditional agri product exports, so that Indian culture can be exported in one of the way, Indian heritage can be understood by people, and organic products, they're liked and they're preferred by people all over the world. So that is one of the aims. Then how to pursue these aims: to have an institutional mechanism for pursuing market access, tackling barriers. That products from India, let's say mangoes from India, when they are exported to European Union, countries in the European Union, many a times it has happened that the European Union has sent these products back because it has said that there is high level of pesticide being used in Indian products. So now we want to develop an institutional mechanism which looks after just these areas, that what are the barriers in all with exports going on from India, so that we can plan and we can grow our crops in a way and for the countries where they have to be exported, so that later on our consignments are not sent back and hence our farmers are not at loss. So dealing with sanitary and phytosanitary issues, these are known as SPS issues. They talk about usage of chemicals and pesticides in products. in agriculture products. So whenever I use the term SPS, kindly understand that these are sanitary and phytosanitary issues. Then the fifth one is to double India's share in world agri exports by, here we talked about to double agriculture exports by 2022, and here we are talking about doubling India's share in world agriculture exports. Then to enable farmers should be benefiting out of exports of agriculture, not the middlemen, not the exporters. Everyone should benefit, but the farmers who are actually growing these crops, who are growing these products, they should be the ones who benefit the most. And then moving on to point 7, the policy has also encouraged the development of export-oriented agriculture clusters so that more products can be grown in collection and hence export can be made easier. Then it has also emphasized on infrastructure development. One of you, you said in this beginning that ma'am, we don't have storage facilities. So provision of cold chain, storage facilities and pack houses to reduce the losses that occur post harvest, because India is a tropical country. We have various types of pests are there, various types of insects are there because of warm and humid climate in the country, and hence this policy does focus on provision of cold chains and storage facilities and pack houses to reduce these losses. Then it aimed to strengthen research and development efforts, very much required. Then implementation of quality standards and certification to meet international requirements, that before exporting itself, if we have quality standards, if we can establish brand India, that whenever a product reads, let's say a sticker of brand India is placed on a consignment of mangoes or on a box of mangoes, then the person receiving it sitting in France or UK, they are aware of the quality that they will get. So there is a focus on developing brand India. Kindly write this term in your answers. And then establishment of an online platform for market intelligence is there. For example, a war breaks in one part of the world, or just like we had blocking of Suez Canal or the Red Sea for few days, a few years ago, 2-3 years ago, we had that. So market intelligence is required. That are the trade routes clear? Is market requirement there for the food grains or food products that we have been producing in the past few years, or other agricultural products? So timely information sharing, that would help farmers a lot, and that would help agriculture exports a lot. Then the policy also aimed to negotiate favorable terms for agricultural trade in bilateral and multilateral trade agreements. Now you have regional cooperation as part of your syllabus. We talk about Shanghai Cooperation Organization, we talk about South Asian Association of Regional Cooperation. So regional cooperation, regional agreements and bilateral agreements. If we have a direct contract with, let's say, Australia, where we directly export agriculture commodities to Australia at at a certain specified price, and we get a higher price in Australian markets, then there is very ease of exports. Ease of exports can increase with certain trade agreements. So they can be bilateral and multilateral, and focus on regional agreements should be high here. Then it called for better coordination amongst various ministries, because we do not want domestic issues. For example, this policy has been developed by Ministry of Commerce and Industry, and agriculture products who focuses on their production and from sowing to actually harvesting, it's the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. So better coordination amongst various ministries that has been focused on. So these were all the key features of AEP. If you have any additions to make here or any doubts to raise, then kindly let me know in the chat section. And then we'll move on to body part 2, that is reasons for low exports or low agriculture exports. Okay. Ma'am, we can also include the data of some most exported farm products and the ones which generate most foreign exchange in the intersection. Yes, Baba, kindly focus on how much forex they generate, and you can use the term, for example, wheat that is exported, or rice or sugar that is exported generated this much of foreign exchange in the year 2022 or 2023. So that is going to be a very creative approach. Kindly go for it. Muna, I'll focus on this. Okay. Can we also have essay writing practice? Joseph, I'll communicate it to my team. Also, you can contact us at 8146207241 for any such, any such things that you want to know about, or any such requests. Okay, so camera is hazy. Is the camera hazy for all of you, or is it? Uh, Kindly let me know in the chat section. Is the camera hazy, or is my appearance clear to you? Otherwise, I'll turn on another light here. I don't know if that would be better. Kindly let me know in the chat section. Meanwhile, let's move on to body part 2, and here quickly let's discuss reasons for low exports, low agricultural exports from our country. So the first one is there are some problems associated. The first one is expiry of Nairobi package and public stock holding. Okay, so what is the Nairobi package? What is the Nairobi package, and which countries does it talk about? So basically, Nairobi package is related to World Trade Organization, and it has expired in 2023. World Trade Organization, it gave some certain amount of relief to countries, to developing and least developed countries who wanted to provide export subsidies or subsidies to their farmers so that their economy can sustain, and the poor people in their country can benefit, and India is one of the countries benefiting out of Nairobi package. So Nairobi package was supposed to expire in 2023, but recently no new decision has come up that whether it will be extended. If it is extended, then obviously it is going to be beneficial for India, it is beneficial for Indian exports, but as of now this is a problem. And this is also a problem because India cannot provide export subsidies to its farmers beyond a certain limit. So the 10th Ministerial Conference of WTO that was held in 2015 in Nairobi, it provided India's sunset clause. Sunset, just like when sun sets, the day is done, and then you have to wait for the next day. So just like that, it provided for a sunset clause for developing countries and LDCs to phase out export subsidies provided by them for their agriculture exports. That is by 2023. So phasing out by decreasing. So that is a big problem for India. Then public stock holding. India requires public stock holding of food grains because we want to avoid situations like famine, but this public stock holding has been challenged by countries like USA in WTO. They have lodged cases against India that public stock holding of India is against the norms of WTO, and India uses this public stock holding to increase its exports. For example, when in the global market availability of wheat is low, then India uses this public stock held food grains to export wheat in the global market, and hence USA has challenged it, and it has said that India is basically WTO non-compliant. Then the third one here is limited agriculture export basket. I showed you one of the screenshots from Business Standard. GTRI, Global Trade Research Initiative, has said that India's export basket is dependent on just 5 commodities, making it very, very vulnerable to fluctuation in global prices and demand. Okay, so AEP focuses on expanding or diversifying the products that we export. And what are these 5 products? That's just for your knowledge. You can avoid to write them in your answer if you are exceeding the word limit. This is basmati rice, non-basmati rice, sugar, spices, and oil meals. They account for more than 50% of India's total agri exports. Then the fourth one is restrictive trade policy of India. Why is India's trade policy restrictive? We just saw that AEP is focusing on increasing India's agricultural exports. Then why do we have trade policy which is restricted? Again, we are trying to balance between domestic demand. We want our PDS shops to be full. We want our godowns to be full of grains, and we also want that we should be exporting in the least possible quantity so that we don't run out of food grains, because India is dependent on climate change. India is dependent on monsoon, and you never know what the next year entails. Will the monsoon would be good or not? And in case, unfortunately, if it is not good, then you will have to rely on the food grains which are lying in Indian government stocks. So that's why Indian government follows restrictive trade policy from time to time, which is primarily aimed at addressing domestic supply shortages and amid rising inflationary pressures. So that is to control inflation as well. So these are some of the instances. The first one is from May 2022, when the government banned export of wheat and broken rice. Then it moved sugar from free export regime to the restricted category, that permissions had to be taken if export of sugar had to happen. I know that few lines you might not be able to see because of the camera, but I will read them out for you. so don't worry. Then in September 2022, a 20% duty, that is 20% tax on all white non-basmati grain shipments was applied. Putting a tax on items which have to be exported means that their prices in global markets would be higher. There will be not a large amount of profit to exporters if they're sending those food grains to global markets and not selling them in domestic markets, and hence exporters of food grains, they are not motivated to export such products, because the moment your product becomes expensive in the global markets, people in the global markets, people in other countries, they are not motivated to buy your products, and hence whenever the government has to stop export of food grains, either it bans the export, or if it does not want to do that, it puts a duty or it puts higher taxes on export of those food grains. For example, when there was a Russia Ukraine crisis in beginning, when it had just started, the Russia Ukraine crisis, then what did we see? That demand for wheat had gone up because Russia was not able to export wheat. So demand for wheat had gone up in the global market, and that time Indian government put a high tax on export of wheat, and also it banned export of wheat to a certain extent. So at that time, if we are not using the opportunity, that means we will not benefit, our farmers will not benefit, our exporters will not benefit, and hence that wheat has to be sold at lower rates in the domestic market only. Then in August 2023, 20% duty was levied on exports of, again, parboiled rice, non-basmati rice. This parboiled rice comes mostly from Tamil Nadu. So yes, MEP is minimum export price. If you're very curious about what are these MEP curbs, minimum export price means you cannot export a particular commodity below a certain rate. That, let's say, 1 kg of a certain product has to be exported at 100 rupees minimum, not at 50 rupees. Let's say I'm an exporter and I'm benefiting, even if that 1 kg is being sold in the international market at 50 rupees per kg, I'll benefit out of it. But the government deliberately introduces minimum export price curbs. It raises the price of that commodity. That means 1 kg of that food grain will be selling now at 100 rupees, which has been put on me by the government. So once it goes to 100 rupees, nobody will buy it because it's very expensive. Then there are infrastructural issues. I think these should be very easy to understand, that India has banned exports on, first of all, uncertain trade policies. Let's talk about this. This is not highlighted here. I'll make the amendments in the PDF. So India has banned exports of the products in which it held a leadership position, and rice is one of that product. So we see that China is the largest producer of rice, but it does not export rice because China feels that it takes a lot of water to grow rice, and that is the case for India also. So we realize this, that we are in a way exporting water if we are exporting rice. So that's why rice has been banned from time to time, right, for exports, and India already held a leadership position in that. So this is where we are making losses. Then there are infrastructural issues. The sector is hindered by inadequate cold chain infrastructure and inefficient logistics. According to APIDA, this is an organization which works for agricultural export development. It is Agriculture Production Export Development, Agricultural Products Export Development Authority. It says that approximately 40% of country's food gets spoiled due to the impacts due to all of this, because of non-availability of cold chain infrastructure. So 40% is a huge percentage. Just imagine if this could be exported. Then we have small and fragmented land holdings, due to which transition to commercial production is not happening. That is still a challenge. 86.2% of farmers in India are small and marginal farmers. Then there are quality issues. Here we'll talk about the sanitary and phytosanitary measures. You have the SPS agreement. Then according to this agreement, that availability or presence of pesticides in Indian products has been seen to be very, very high. So quality issues, they have to be worked upon to promote Indian exports. Now we've had a long answer. it's a challenge to write it within 600 words. Let's write a small summary on, or let's give a small way forward. First of all, your AEP focuses on increasing the exports. So you don't have to increase the exports of just food grains which are lacking in the country. Increase the exports of products which are produced in surplus and whose domestic demand is not expected to rise in future. So one is that solution. What are the other solutions that we can focus on? That focusing on internal agriculture productivity and India's share in global export basket. This has to be encouraged. This has to be encouraged in the minds of policymakers also and the government also whenever it is introducing any kinds of trade barriers. So it is important for policymakers first of all to balance the need for domestic supply with the benefits of exporting agriculture products. Only then the vision of the policy and the target for our exports can be increased. And all the impacts that can occur for export restrictions, which can occur for farmers, exporters and consumers, they have to be kept in mind before putting any restrictions on agriculture exports. And this is the solution that can be provided, that it may be beneficial for India to focus on agri products where it has a genuine agri surplus and domestic demand is not very much dwindling. So that's your conclusion and way forward. I'm displaying the question again. You will be provided with free evaluation services if you write an answer to this question in the next 48 hours in the YouTube comment section under this video. This is, in the next 48 hours, you will get a free evaluation which will be very, very comprehensive. So kindly post your answers by Sunday 5 p.m. or before that, so that your evaluation is also not that delayed. And a lot of students have benefited about after the explanations and evaluations that they have got as responses from Team EduTap, and you can too. So if you're somebody who's not regular in answer writing, who's focusing on just completing the syllabus and not working on answer writing, this is your chance. Just write 3 answers with us on a weekly basis, that is Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and I promise you that you will see a great amount of improvement, not just in your presentation skills but also in the efficiency with which you can actually retain information for making it to the final list, and that's very important. So kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel, contact us at this email ID for any feedback that you have. You can also send your feedback in the comment section under this video, and contact us at this phone number for any initiatives you want us to come up with. And yes, you're welcome, Rohit. Muskan, FPO should be motivated to export more by providing credit support. Yes, Muskan, but again, we have to be WTO compliant. We cannot provide direct credit support for exports. Madhu, okay, Madhu. So, all right, Tarun. Okay, it is manageable? Are these features predefined, or we can be creative in this section as well? You can be creative, but features are predefined. You can download the policy AEP from Ministry of Commerce and Industries website. But you don't need to go through the entire policy, but the features that you will see in that document also, you'll see that these are predefined and these are given by that ministry, so we have to follow along the lines. Can we use heading in body part of answer writing question? Heading in body part of answer writing. You can use subheadings, which we have been doing from time to time. We have not done in today's question, just to show you a different approach. You can definitely use subheadings, but don't write the word introduction, conclusion. Don't write these words. Just give space and then proceed with your answer. Okay, Akash, do you have anything to ask here? Ma'am, what are the optimum marks we should be getting in evaluation? Anywhere around 50% or more than that is good, is very good at this stage. Okay, so I think there are no more doubts coming. So yes, guys, I'll see you on Monday at 5 p.m. Till then, just take care, post your answers on time, and all the very best. Wishing you all once again a very happy Republic Day, and maybe all see happy times really soon.